Soviet disk detected. To play the Allied missions, please insert the Allied disk.
Hello everyone, I'm a Broken Robot. Five Nights at Freddy's was easily one of the most important video game franchises of the 2010s. What started out as a low-budget indie horror title easily ballooned to massive heights of popularity thanks to a combination of YouTube Let's Plays, the growth of online discussion boards, and being at the right place at the right time. Five Nights at Freddy's in 2025 is a juggernaut of a franchise, with multiple mainline games, numerous spin-offs, a theatrical film with the sequel on the way, and a massive line of branded toys, apparel, and other knickknacks. The franchise's lineup of iconic and lesser-known characters helped the franchise maintain its relevance as the later underwhelming sequels released. Now, if you asked any average internet user who the most important Five Nights at Freddy's character was, they'd probably say Freddy, since after all he is the mascot of the entire franchise, or maybe Springtrap for reviving interest around the lore of the games, or maybe even Purple Guy if you're a fan that spends way too much time on the FNAF wiki. But in this robot's opinion, no character is as important to Five Nights at Freddy's in terms of story and the franchise as a whole than that of Phone Guy. This throwaway character that originally only existed to explain gameplay mechanics accidentally caused massive hype around not only Five Nights at Freddy's as a game, but as a story. Before we hop into the video, I highly suggest checking out Five Nights at Freddy's 1 through 3 before watching this video, or at least go watch Dashy play them on his YouTube channel.
Hungry about to show up and say what's good any minute now. And you, and then probably you right here. No? Okay, just one of y'all? Oh my god,
In terms of lore, despite the Phone Guy never making a physical appearance, he's been at the center of fan theories and in-game lore since Markiplier uploaded his first Let's Play. For veterans or people that spend too much time online, you'll know that Phone Guy's story actually starts in Five Nights at Freddy's 3, and a semi-canon novel called The Week Before that in the timeline takes place prior to the first game, but for the sake of simplicity, we'll start at the franchise's beginning. In Five Nights at Freddy's 1, you take on the role as Mike Schmidt, a young adult male that's so desperate for work, he's willing to work the graveyard shift for a puny $120 a week. Acting as the night guard for Freddy Fazbear's Pizzeria, a family restaurant with animatronics, he'll spend the week watching over the restaurant. On night 1 of starting his job, he receives a phone call from none other than the Phone Guy, welcoming him to the company and going through the finer details of the job.
Hello. I wanted to record a message for you to help you get settled in on your first night. I actually worked in that office before you. I'm finishing up my last week now, as a matter of fact, so I know it can be a bit overwhelming, but I'm here to tell you there's nothing to worry about. You'll do fine. So let's just focus on getting you through your first week, okay? Let's see. First, there's an introductory greeting from the company that I'm supposed to read. It's kind of a legal thing, you know. Welcome to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, a magical place for kids and grown-ups alike, where fantasy and fun come to life. Fazbear Entertainment is not responsible for damage to property or person. Upon discovering that damage or death has occurred, a missing person report will be filed within 90 days or as soon as property and premises have been thoroughly cleaned and bleached and the carpets have been replaced. Blah, blah, blah. Now, that might sound bad, I know, but there's really nothing to worry about.
It seems weird that a Chuck E. Cheese-esque pizzeria would need a night watchman, let alone security guards in the first place. But through these nightly phone calls, the situation and bits of lore are revealed. Phone Guy used to be the night watchman, and even has a long history with Fazbear Entertainment dating back to sometime before 1987. Despite his cheerful demeanor, it quickly becomes apparent that this isn't a simple security guard shift. You're not just guarding the restaurant from potential break-ins, but preventing the pizzeria's animatronics from getting into trouble. Additionally, he notes that because of a programming error, after hours the animatronics will mistake a regular human for an endoskeleton missing its costume, which is why they could be a threat to the night guard.
Now, concerning your safety, the only real risk to you as a night watchman here, if any, is the fact that these characters, if they happen to see you after hours, probably won't recognize you as a person. They'll most likely see you as a metal endoskeleton without its costume on. Now, since that's against the rules here at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, they'll probably try to forcefully stuff you inside a Freddy Fazbear suit. Now, that wouldn't be so bad if the suits themselves weren't filled with cross beams, wires, and animatronic devices, especially around the facial area. So you can imagine how having your head forcefully pressed inside one of those could cause a bit of discomfort and death.
On night 1, both Mike and the player character quickly learn that power is life in this situation, and that despite having lights, doors, and cameras, you're forced to sit around waiting for the animatronic assault. Night 1's phone call also introduced the single most important wild goose chase of the franchise's lore, with the Bite of 87 revealing that despite being a child-friendly restaurant, an accident with their animatronics has happened in the past.
So just be aware, the characters do tend to wander a bit. They're left in some kind of free roaming mode at night. Something about their servos locking up, they get turned off for too long. They used to be allowed to walk around during the day too, but then there was the Bite of 87. Yeah. It's amazing that the human body can live without the frontal lobe, you know?
On night 2, things become much more intense, both in terms of gameplay and Phone Guy's call. He reveals that the animatronics become more active as the week progresses, and that it's probably in your best interest to check out cameras while listening to his call. This is also where Foxy's game mechanic is revealed. In this phone call, the overly cheerful demeanor is gone, and he almost sounds nervous.
I also want to emphasize the importance of using your door lights. There are blind spots in your camera views, and those blind spots happen to be right outside your doors. So if you can't find something or someone on your cameras, be sure to check the door lights. You might only have a few seconds to react. Not that you would be in any danger, of course. I'm not implying that. Also, check on the curtain in Pirate Cove from time to time. The character in there seems unique in that he becomes more active if the cameras remain off for long periods of time. I guess he doesn't like being watched.
When you reach the third night, we learn that Phone Guy has been recording not only from the same office as yours, but all while trying to finish a shift, explaining why each call gets more nervous. Each individual call shows the progression of a night from the perspective of Phone Guy, with each call getting shorter and more panicked. On night 3, he tries to give Mike some tips on what to do if you run out of power, but he basically comes to the conclusion that losing power is a death sentence. He also makes the mistake of accidentally revealing that other night guards usually don't last this long, either by getting stuffed into a Freddy suit, or quitting after the first or second night.
Hello! Hey, you're doing great! Most people don't last this long. I mean, you know, they usually move on to other things by now. I'm not implying that they died. That's not what I meant. Anyway, I better not take up too much of your time. Things start getting real tonight.
Night 4 is the last time we hear from Phone Guy in Five Nights at Freddy's. Now at hour 4 of his shift, Phone Guy is in full panic mode, telling Mike that this might be the last time he hears from him, as the sound of loud metal banging comes from the background. He sheepishly requests the night guard to inspect the mascot room to locate his body, followed by the terrifying Freddy theme and scream, revealing that Phone Guy met his end.
Oh, hey, wow, day 4. I knew you could do it. Hey, listen, I may not be around to send you a message tomorrow. It's been a bad night here for me. I'm kind of glad that I recorded my messages for you when I did. Hey, do me a favor. Maybe sometime you could check inside those suits in the back room. I'm going to try to hold out until someone checks. Maybe it won't be so bad. Yeah, I always wondered what was in all those empty heads back there. You know. Oh no.
Despite dying on night 4, a muffled and confusing recording does call on night 5, featuring such hallmarks as static, warped voices, and sped up screams. This relatively short phone call is actually a segment from the autobiography of a yogi that is sped up and slowed down, followed by being played in reverse. In lore, this recording has never been fully explained, and is likely supposed to be the tormented souls trapped in the animatronics trying to communicate, but this has never been confirmed or denied. In Five Nights at Freddy's 2, the phone guy makes a shocking return despite most players assuming he was dead. Like in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, he mostly exists to explain game mechanics, like the flashlight and using the Freddy mask instead of standard doors, but important lore hints are revealed. Phone Guy brings up the old restaurant and how it was kind of left to rot, and that Fazbear Entertainment had developed a negative reputation after said restaurant was shut down. He discusses how some of the new animatronics have been causing some issues for the previous Night Guard, and that because the animatronics were never given a proper night mode, they'll once again mistake you for an endoskeleton without its costume. This time you have unlimited power, but have twice as many animatronics to keep an eye on.
Hello and welcome to your new summer job at the new and improved Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. I'm here to talk you through some of the things you can expect to see during your first week here and to help you get started down this new and exciting career path. Now, I want you to forget anything you may have heard about the old locations, you know. Some people still have a somewhat negative impression of the company. That old restaurant was kind of left to rot for quite a while, but I want to reassure you, Fazbear Entertainment is committed to family fun and above all, safety. They've spent a small fortune on these new animatronics. Facial recognition, advanced mobility, they even let them walk around during the day. Isn't that neat? But most importantly, they're all tied into some kind of criminal database so they can detect a predator a mile away. Heck, we should be paying them to guard you.
On the second night, Phone Guy brings up the older suits that were salvaged from the old restaurants, being used for parts. There were plans to retrofit them with new tech and use them around the restaurant, but after being deemed ugly by Fazbear Entertainment, they were replaced with much more appealing toy versions.
By now I'm sure you've noticed the older models sitting in the back room. Those are from the previous location, and we just use them for parts now. The idea at first was to repair them. They even started retrofitting them with some of the newer technology, but they were just so ugly, you know, and the smell. So the company decided to just go in a whole new direction and make them super kid-friendly. Those older ones shouldn't be able to walk around, but if they do, the whole Freddy head trick should work on them too, so whatever. I love those old characters. Did you ever see Foxy the Pirate? Oh wait, Foxy. Oh yeah, Foxy. Hey listen, that one was always a bit twitchy. I'm not sure if the Freddy head trick will work on Foxy.
On night 3, Phone Guy mentions that Foxy was always his favorite animatronic, and discusses his disdain for the toy version of Foxy that's now been transformed into a take-apart, put-back-together attraction nicknamed the Mangle. Additionally, he mentions that despite some rumors spreading in the local community, he implores the Night Guard to ignore any rumors that he's heard, revealing that much like in Five Nights at Freddy's 1, foul play has been suspected.
Did Foxy ever appear in the hallway? Probably not. I was just curious. Like I said, he was always my favorite. They tried to remake Foxy, you know? They thought the first one was too scary, so they redesigned him to be more kid-friendly and put him in Kids Cove to keep the toddlers entertained, you know. But kids these days just can't keep their hands to themselves. The staff literally had to put Foxy back together at the end of every shift. So eventually they just stopped trying and left him as some kind of take-apart, put-back-together attraction. Now he's just a mess of parts. I think the employees refer to him as just the Mangle. Oh, hey, before I go, I wanted to ease your mind about any rumors you might have heard lately. You know how these local stories come and go and seldom mean anything. I can personally assure you that whatever is going on out there, however tragic it may be, has nothing to do with our establishment. It's just all rumor and speculation, people trying to make a buck, you know.
Despite acting calm the night before, on night 4, Phone Guy calls in and immediately skips over any gameplay exposition and goes straight into lore, explaining that there has been an investigation launched towards the restaurant, and for some strange reason all the animatronics have been glitching, interacting with kids with no problem, but staring ominously at parents and adults alike, sometimes even becoming aggressive.
Okay, so just to update you, there's been somewhat of an investigation going on. We may end up having to close for a few days, I don't know. I want to emphasize, though, that it's really just a precaution. Fazbear Entertainment denies any wrongdoing. These things happen sometimes. It'll all get sorted out in a few days. Just keep an eye on things, and I'll keep you posted. Just as a side note, though, try to avoid eye contact with any of the animatronics side if you can. Someone may have tampered with their facial recognition systems. We're not sure. But the characters have been acting very unusual, almost aggressive toward the staff. They interact with the kids just fine, but when they encounter an adult, they just stare.
On night 5, things get real. Phone Guy mentions that the entire restaurant is on security lockdown and that no one besides the night guard is allowed in or out during the hours. He makes a point that in specific no previous employees are allowed inside, and that he will be swapping shifts with the night guard that previously worked the day shift.
Oh, hey, good job, night 5. Keep a close eye on things tonight, okay? From what I understand, the building is on lockdown. No one is allowed in or out, especially concerning any previous employees. When we get it all sorted out, we may move you to the day shift. A position just became available.
Here is also where Phone Guy drops the bomb that Five Nights at Freddy's 2 isn't a sequel, but in fact a prequel to Five Nights at Freddy's 1, with the previous location mentioned by Phone Guy on night 1 being a restaurant not owned by Fazbear Entertainment called Fredbear's Family Diner. Phone Guy isn't confident that they'll be able to track down the old owner to figure out what's going on with the animatronics at the restaurant.
We're going to try to contact the original restaurant owner. I think the name of the place was Fredbear's Family Diner or something like that. It was closed for years, though. I doubt we'll be able to track anybody down. So just get through one more night. Hang in there. Good night.
Night 6 is when popular Five Nights at Freddy's lore plots like the Purple Guy and Golden Freddy come into play. Phone Guy calls in and is shocked and confused why you're at work in the first place, whimpering that someone took one of the golden animatronic costumes, and now none of the animatronics are working right. This mysterious assailant is likely the day guard that was fired the day before.
Hello. What on earth are you doing there? Didn't you get the memo? The place is closed down, at least for a while. Someone used one of the suits. We had a spare in the back, a yellow one. Someone used it. Now none of them are acting right. Listen, just finish your shift. It's safer than trying to leave in the middle of the night.
Phone Guy sounds nothing short of distraught and notes that despite a birthday party being scheduled for the following day, there are no events for the foreseeable future, and he will personally take over the night shift. Also, this is a bit of a side note, but it's kind of concerning that Phone Guy wishes you good luck at the end, as if he knows that you're in a current state of danger every night while you're at work.
We have one more event scheduled for tomorrow, a birthday. You'll be on day shift. Wear your uniform. Stay close to the animatronics and make sure they don't hurt anyone, okay? For now, just make it through the night. When the place eventually opens again, I'll probably take the night shift myself. Okay, good night and good luck.
In Five Nights at Freddy's 3, Phone Guy doesn't necessarily make an appearance, but more so a cameo. At Fredbear's Fright, a carnival horror attraction based off the tragic disappearance of 5 children and the sudden shutdown of Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, you quickly learn that the organizers have located an actual animatronic, which will later play into the overarching lore of the later games. In terms of Phone Guy, the event organizers leave you with a collection of ancient training tapes in relation to the Springlock animatronic suits. Based on the voice of the speaker, it's clearly Phone Guy, but if these tapes were from the original location or in Five Nights at Freddy's 2, it's unknown, but likely based off the phone chime and the audio quality, it's very similar to Five Nights at Freddy's 2, but let me know down in the comments below if you know that for sure. From these tapes, we learned that in the past, Freddy Fazbear's Pizza used Springlock suits that could be worn and function as an animatronic at the same time, but if not used safely, they could harm employees.
Hey man, okay, I have some awesome news for you. First of all, we found some vintage audio training cassettes. Dude, these are like prehistoric. I think they were like training tapes for like other employees or something like that. You're not gonna believe this. We found one. A real one. Gotta go, man. Well look, it's in there somewhere. I'm sure you'll see it. Okay, I'll leave you with some of this great audio that I found. Talk to you later, man. Hello? Welcome to your new career as a performer/entertainer for Freddy Fazbear's Pizza. These tapes will provide you with much-needed information on how to handle/climb into/climb out of mascot costumes. Right now, we have 2 specially designed suits that double as both animatronic and suit. So please allowed to operate these suits, as accidents, /injuries, /deaths, /irreparable and grotesque maiming can occur.
Later tapes would show that Fazbear Entertainment was fully aware that the spring-lock suits were glitchy, but they would still encourage their employees to use the suits despite the danger. In terms of lore, this is related to Springtrap or William Afton, the mysterious day guard from Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that stole a golden suit. Besides revealing lore for the previously unseen Five Nights at Freddy's locations, we learn that there were multiple spring-lock failures at a sister location leading to the spring-lock suits being retired, going as far as to say that Fazbear Entertainment isn't liable for any injuries.
Hello. For today's lesson, we will be continuing our training on proper suit handling techniques. When using an animatronic as a suit, please ensure that the animatronic parts are tightly compressed and fastened by the spring locks located around the inside of the suit. It may take a few moments to position your head and torso between these parts in a manner where you can move and speak. Try not to nudge or press against any of the spring locks inside the suit. Do not touch the spring locks at any time. Do not breathe on the spring locks, as moisture may loosen them and cause them to break loose. In the case that the spring locks come loose while you are wearing a suit, please try to maneuver away from populated areas before bleeding out, as to not ruin the customer experience.
In another tape, he mentions that restaurant locations were stocked with safe rooms for spring-lock suits. These rooms were designed to store the animatronics, and also that employees could climb inside and outside of the suits without being viewed by restaurant guests. Phone Guy makes it very clear that these aren't break rooms, nor are they for employee congregation. He also mentions that the Spring Bonnie costume has been noticeably tampered with. This is the same exact animatronic that you encounter in Five Nights at Freddy's 3.
Hello. This is just a reminder of company policy concerning the safe room. The safe room is reserved for equipment and or other property not being currently used and as a backup safety location for employees only. This is not a break room and should not be considered a place for employees to hide and or congregate. And under no circumstance should a customer ever be taken into this room and out of the main show area. Management has also been made aware that the Spring Bonnie animatronic has been noticeably moved and would like to remind employees that this costume is not safe to wear under any circumstances.
In another tape, you learn that the safe rooms are being closed and walled off effective immediately, alluding to the truth that it was in fact the day guard from Five Nights at Freddy's 2 that had stolen a golden Bonnie suit to kidnap a group of restaurant guests. But for the sake of the video, we'll end our lore discussion here. Today in 2025, it seems like we are practically drowning in Five Nights at Freddy's media, but back in 2014, that wasn't the case. Besides Easter eggs and fan theories, what few scraps of lore we got from the games revealed a wider narrative that Phone Guy was at the center of. The bite of 87, his untimely death on Night 4, and the mystery behind his connection to the old locations fueled a firestorm which arguably is the reason why Five Nights at Freddy's became such a gaming icon. In terms of gameplay, Five Nights at Freddy's 1 was a revolutionary title, but it was the lore and the story that really got people talking. YouTubers, bloggers, even old Tumblr forums discussed Five Nights at Freddy's lore daily, and as each new game was released and more lore was drip-fed to the audience, more people got invested.
Was that the bite of 87?
I'd even go far enough to argue that if Five Nights at Freddy's 1 just had a few notes on the walls and fan theories to drive its story, it would have never gained the popularity it garnered. Phone Guy was the right mix of explaining gameplay, introducing lore that would be revealed later, and allowing the player themselves to fill in the gaps in the story in their head. Speaking as someone who personally fell out of love with the franchise's gameplay, I still would chime in once in a while to see where the story was going, all just because Phone Guy's ramblings had gotten me invested back in the day. What's also nice about Phone Guy is he's voiced by none other than Scott Cawthon, the creator of the series, adding a nice personal touch. Overall, whether you're a Five Nights at Freddy's fan or just hearing about the franchise for the first time, it's safe to say that without Phone Guy, we might have never gotten a sequel. But what do you guys think? Are there any other characters in the franchise you believe had a bigger impact on the lore? Or is there any other characters you believe had more of an impact on the fanbase, like Springtrap or Golden Freddy? I'd be more than happy to discuss in the comments down below. But more than anything, I'm so happy and thankful to have each and every one of you in my audience today. You guys truly make the show possible, and I live to entertain. If you like what you see, feel free to hit that like button. Liking this video not only lets me know that you guys want more content, but it helps me out personally in the YouTube algorithm, so hey, thanks a bunch. Don't forget to subscribe and join the Robot Factory today. We cover a wide variety of topics here on the Broken Robot Show, from gaming, pop culture, history, and more, so there's always something for everyone here on the show. I hope you all have a great day, don't run out of power, and stay cool.